Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Today we give some updates on today's storm and our ongoing Washington Bridge response. With me today, Lieutenant Governor, as well as our Emergency Manager, Director Pappas, Director Alviti, Brian from Rhode Island Energy, and our Education Commissioner, Infante Green. This morning we continue the calls on the bridge with early morning with our municipal leaders, and then followed up with our department heads for the bridge issues. But also we got updates on the storm this morning as well. So we're continuing to experiencing strong weather systems that's bringing high winds, rain, and localized flooding. We expect steady and heavy rains this morning to mid-afternoon. And around high tide at noon, we also expect coastal flooding in Narragansett Bay, Buzzard Bay. Already we're seeing significant flooding in communities like Westerly and Bristol. Right now we're seeing approximately 30,000 outages, with some of the highest outages in East Providence and Cumberland. I spoke to the president of the Rhode Island Energy this morning, and they have 100 additional line crews, 75 extra forestry crews working to help restore power as quickly as possible. And thank you to Rhode Island Energy for connecting in with not only myself on calls, but I understand connecting throughout the state of Rhode Island. So Brian, thank you for that response. Rhode Islanders can report outages at rienergy.com, or by texting OUT, O-U-T, to 743-688. Texting OUT to 743-688. So in terms of travel conditions, road conditions, right now only automobiles, pickup trucks, flatbed trailers, and commercial buses are permitted to cross Newport Pell Bridge. We're asking everyone to stay tuned for updates. So right now, my understanding is pickup trucks and automobiles that are allowed over the bridge. There's no, and updates will come from the Bridge Authority. The Block Island Ferry will not be running today. Amtrak services through Rhode Island have been temporarily paused due to a down wire in Cumberland, and Rhode Island Energy's crews are out addressing that issue as we speak. Again, a word of caution as we're traveling the roads today: use extreme caution, drive slow, give yourself extra time, do not drive through flood areas, turn around if you're about to run through a flooded area. We don't need abandoned cars in an issue and put anybody at risk. Avoid all down power lines, and I'll repeat that, avoid all down power lines. There's not anything that you can do at that point in time, but report that to Rhode Island Energy. And finally, we know that several schools have had to close, dismissed early, virtual learning. Commissioner Infante Green and her team are monitoring this closely, and will provide answers to any questions you might have regarding schools. And I will now turn it over to our Lieutenant Governor for her comments as well. Thanks, Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon. So I just want to disclosure, I'm going to be available to do interviews in Spanish after, and I can relay the message in Spanish after. Voy a estar disponible a hacer el mensaje en español después de que el gobernador termine tomando preguntas. As the chair of the Emergency Management Advisory Council, I work closely with Director Pappas to make sure that municipalities are ready for situations like this. And we have to take this opportunity to remind municipality how important it is for you to have your emergency plan ready. If you have your emergency plan ready, it gives you the opportunity to apply for the BRIC grant from FEMA, which is the Building Resiliences, Infrastructure, and in Communities. And this is a grant that you're not able to apply if you don't have your plan ready. So I wanted to take this opportunity to remind all the municipalities to make sure that your plan is up to date, because in moments like this, it's crucial for us to have those plans up to date. with that, I just want to pass over to Director Pappas, who's going to continue to provide updates. Director.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Governor. So not really a whole lot to add. The governor really hit all the points that I was going to hit. So I'll just say this. We've been in communication with the governor, all state agency directors and the cabinet throughout the weekend about the upcoming weather that we're experienced this morning and what we're going to experience this afternoon. It looks to us, speaking with the National Weather Service, that things are going to start to wind down in the afternoon, which is good for us. But we are still dealing with some pretty heavy winds and power outages. The governor said about 30,000 out right now, and Rhode Island Energy is here to talk about that. We've been in constant contact with municipal leaders all through the weekend, including this morning, just to make them aware of all the different impacts and potential issues that they'll deal with. Right now, it's obviously power outage, and we're dealing with some minor flooding, and especially down in Westerly and East Providence, some areas, some storm surge over in Bristol as well. We're getting reports of that. So we'll be in communication with those municipalities about what they're experiencing with those surge issues. We just got that in. I'm not sure if the governor covered it, but we did get some wires down over the tracks for Amtrak up in Cumberland. That's holding up the train a little bit, but Rhode Island Energy is sending crews up there to deal with that right away. And we'll just continue to monitor the storm, keep communications open with the governor and his team, and all the municipal leaders throughout the state. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take them. Oh, okay. Turn it over to Director Albini.
Thank you, Director. The two issues that we continue to monitor at DOT is, of course, the storm conditions. With regard to that, we had our crews out last night clearing trees and limbs from the highways and clearing drainage pathways. When the peak of the storm hit this morning and through today, we continue to keep those crews out there deployed. They've done an effective job at keeping the drains open and the flooding down to a minimum. We have some coastal flooding being caused by tides in some of the coastal towns who are monitoring that, working with the state police and local municipalities to make sure that people have a safe route around or through those areas. The storm readiness happened since last night. We had crews and trucks out there on the order of 200 people, and we're keeping them on through the entire day until we get to the other side of the storm. Through all of this, our bridge folks and our project managers have been keeping an close eye on the traffic surrounding the 195 bypass that we built last week. It operated efficiently through the weekend and during this morning's commute. There was some minor backup on 195 west from Seekonk, mainly because some of the traffic from local roads in East Providence had to be diverted onto 195 as a result of some power line conditions in the roadways. But that seemed to clear up. Everything is passable now, and the construction of the bypass has withstood, the trials of this storm. So we'll continue to monitor that. It looks like, let's get the word out and next steps. It appears that while we had to delay the beginning of the ferry service today and tomorrow as a result of this weather, it will be beginning on Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. and every half hour through the day until 7 p.m. at night. The ferry service, we have 3 ferries with the ability to transport over 1,000 passengers per hour, through the Bristol and Providence ports. We expect to monitor that closely also so that we can meter it and to determine whether or not we begin to phase the service out or bring the service back, depending upon the number of passengers that opt to use this additional mode of transportation during the time we're reconstructing the main bridge. That's all I have. So,
I have a question. Governor, who made the decision no Spanish during the live press conference? Doesn't make sense. We are not second-class citizens. Sabina and Angelica speak Spanish. A lot of people listen to the mainstream media also, and they listen to the mass in Spanish. We need to do it in Spanish now. Oh, Sabina.
I make the decision to speak
But you
after.
can do it now, not after.
I just want to continue with the press conference, and I'm available to answer any question in Spanish
You got people listen to
after.
the radios and TV,
And I have-
answer the question in Spanish.
and I
What
have
we doing
been-
here today?
I
Eso
have-
aquí hoy.
I have been in
Don't be so
contact.
arrogant.
I have
You say it
been-
in Spanish.
All right.
I have been in contact with different Spanish radio throughout the day, so that's why.
Okay, then I have a
Okay?
question
Thank
for
you.
Abiri. Abiri, when did you discover it that the bridge was damaged? Because according to the picture that I had in the video, the damage very worse than what you're telling us. It's very damaged picture here that we are looking at. How bad is the bridge at this moment?
The bridge is shut down, it's being reconstructed, so it's in absolute total disrepair, and I think we provided pictures and commentary to the press last week that showed that. That's the state of affairs. We're fixing that. The bridges that are being used currently are absolutely safe. They were built more recently than the bridge that is in question, and that's where we are.
Director Alviti, or maybe this might be an emergency management question. You're monitoring water levels on the rivers, and particularly the Blackstone. Can you speak to us as to if there's any issues with cresting today, and can we expect additional low-level flooding based on tide surges?
Well, yes, on all of those. We expect that there will be, and we are monitoring the flood gauges and the levels of those rivers, and we'll message out to the press as we see what's happening with those.
We're gonna go to Amy next.
Hey, can I take that river one, please?
Yeah, sure, please.
So we're monitoring all the rivers with the National Weather Service. We expect them to be higher tomorrow. Like, all this rain runs off, gets into the rivers, and makes them higher, so we're gonna monitor through the night. We're in constant contact. Pawcatuck, not just the Blackstone, the Patuxent, all of those rivers that typically go high. Right now, we're looking at maybe moderate. Minor to moderate is pretty much where we are, but we'll keep an eye on it. And we're in constant contact with the locals on it.
Amy, we're gonna go to Amy next.
Commissioner Infante Green, can we just get an update on the situation with schools as it relates to the storm? Any concerns about bus transportation as kids go home later?
Yes, so we have a number of schools that decided not to open today, that may have gone virtual or are taking the day. There are some schools, the information is coming in. Right before I walked in here today, we heard about Pawtucket closing early. So we have a list. We can give you that at the end so that everybody knows. But parents, please be aware that you will be getting notifications from your schools directly, but we will make sure that there's a list. Para los padres, las escuelas se están comunicando con ustedes. Algunas escuelas hoy no abrieron, pero otras están cerrando temprano por la lluvia y los vientos. Por favor, manténganse en contacto con las escuelas y vamos a tener una lista.
Right here.
How did you guys prepare for this storm, given the fact that you guys have to work around the Washington Bridge?
We started early. We could see this coming. We spoke to the National Weather Service every single day since last Friday. And we've been in contact with DOT and all the state departments and agencies. So there's also a meteorologist inside DOT, so Director Alviti has access to that. So he's been preparing with us all the way through, keeping the governor informed.
Olivia?
I'm just wondering how the decision was made to bring us all down here to Cranston in the middle of this storm. I mean, driving down, my Lyft driver could hardly see the roads. There were people pulled over on the sides. Yeah, just wondering why there's not a remote option offered for reporters.
Yeah, that's out of my purview. I don't know why I got
Anyone
called down
else
here,
would
but
love to
We
know.
pulled this together very quickly.
I like
I'll
company,
follow-up
so.
questions after. Right here.
We've been working with lower staff level and excessive staff levels and overtime with the bridge over the last few weeks. How is staffing responding to all of this? From all of the departments, honestly, it's been a lot going on over the last week, we know.
I'm sorry, would you
How are staffing levels right now with response to this
Oh.
and the bridge?
Staffing levels are at their original levels, and we haven't had any difficulty with staffing.
Director Alviti, we're hitting storm season here. When you decided to, with the 3-month time span, did you factor in storms like this into that time span, or are we back a day?
Yeah, I think I said it repeatedly during the last several days that the schedule is based on normal winter weather. If we get abnormal, it's going to push that date further out. If we get better weather, hopefully it'll help us do it faster.
Brian and Steve.
Director, just following up on the, today was the first commute day, the bypass lanes open, although not typical because of the weather. And I know you said you keep an eye on it. What are you expecting for drivers going forward? Do you expect the commute to be almost like normal? What can you tell them about what to prepare for?
I think during the next several weeks, particularly because school is out, I think during the next several weeks, that coupled with the fact that many people are still using some of the detour routes that they used during last week, is helping to moderate the amount of traffic going through these 2 lanes. But I said before, and I'll say again, these are only 2 lanes out of 3 or 4 that normally travel in that westerly direction over the Washington Bridge. So there will be a reduction in capacity. I think when things return back to normal after the Christmas holidays, when children are back in school, and when people begin to look at the bridge bypass that we built as a viable alternative to the detours, we may see some additional traffic and congestion coming from that. But we're going to monitor that, and I think everyone out there driving the commuters will probably balance the traffic patterns off according to what's most convenient to them. But we'll keep you appraised through that whole process.
Can I ask for Rhode Island Energy? At what point, given the wind, can you start to work on restoring the power? What can you tell people about the potential timeline?
Great question. First of all, just to introduce myself, I'm Brian Schuster. I'm the head of external affairs for Rhode Island Energy. Regarding our restoration efforts, our bucket trucks can't, safely restore power lines, transformers, and the like until we have winds below 35 miles per hour. So a lot of the outage restorations you've seen so far, which is about on the order of 20,000, have been patrolling lines and being able to clear lines and restore those outages. There will be some time needed for us for those most severely impacted areas that have, some of our assets in the street, so to speak. And again, later this afternoon, when the winds die down, is when we begin that restoration.
One of your colleagues told us on WPRO it could be tomorrow until some power is restored. Is that the case, and do you expect it will go beyond tomorrow?
Yeah, we have, the governor highlighted some of the bigger impacted areas, and actually we have pretty widespread outages throughout the state. We do anticipate the majority of those outages will be restored later today, but definitely into tomorrow we'll be doing restoration. It really, based on when tomorrow that restoration will be complete, will be based on how much more weather we see today and how the outages continue.
And how many customers does that impact on heading into tomorrow?
It's hard to say based on, again, when the weather lifts up and we can begin to restore. Right now, we're around 30,000 out. And this is obviously a major impact to the entire New England region. There's over 400,000 across the New England region. But for our 30,000, again, we hope to have most of those back today, but they will definitely trickle into tomorrow.
Director Alabini, I'm hearing from my colleagues that there's flooding on 195 West. I just wanted to know, in terms of preparation, were you guys prepared for flooding at this point?
Yes, we were. We had crews out there from yesterday. I think what you're seeing, if you drove here, is a very intense storm. Sometimes these kinds of storms exceed the capacity of the drainage systems that they're on. So it has nothing to do with preparation and or the conduct of the people we have out there now. It has more to do with the ability of the way these drainage systems are designed to handle drainage systems. And we've had this kind of discussion before.
We're going to go to Steve and last question to Olivia.
The Lieutenant Governor referenced municipalities that did not have a storm preparation plan ready.
No,
I mean,
that's
is
not
that
what I said.
possible? I mean,
That's not what I said.
What were you talking about?
That's not what I said.
All right.
We have a grant program that municipalities can apply for. It's a federal program. And in order to apply, they need to have their emergency plan in up to date. So this is just a reminder to the municipalities to check their plan. That's it.
They all have plans?
They all have plans, yes.
Anybody falling short on?
I'm not aware of anybody that's falling short. This is a good time to remind everybody that their plan should be up to date. It's a good time for everybody to make sure their plan is up to date.
Thank you.
Okay?
And
Thank
last
you.
question to Olivia.
I'm wondering, with the ferries, which company is going said that it ends at, or the half-hour service ends at 7 p.m. Does that mean it tapers off after that, like every hour, or just like all service ends at 7? And also, where's the funding for this coming from?
The funding is coming from DOT funding. The schedule is from, schedule of ferries is that it will run from 6 a.m. in the morning to 7 p.m. at night in half-hour intervals at both locations in Providence and in Bristol.
And the ferry company?
There are 3. I'll have our folks get you the names of the 3. One of them is Sea Streak, and 2 others are Rhode Island companies that operate their ferry services in Rhode Island.
And also,
Do you
what are
expect to
you
get
anticipating
reimbursed?
the cost? What are you anticipating at all the cost? You can also give me those numbers later.
Yeah, my folks will give you an update on the numbers. I think overall for a 3-month period, it's on the order of $5 million all in. Yep.
Is it get reimbursed from the federal government for that, or?
As the governor has said repeatedly, he and our folks are looking at all various avenues of reimbursement for emergency funding.
Thank you, guys.